Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. JACALYN. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. JACALYN at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to USA Global TV, and hello to our friends listening on Business Talk Radio out of New York. I'm Dr. JACALYN KERBECK, and our show today is the power of etiquette and manners. So important today, as always. I'm going to welcome my friend. He is also a co-host here. He is an expert presenter on our Talking Heads platform, and he is the principal of the British School of Excellence. Welcome to Philip Sykes.
Hello, and again, Dr. JACALYN, it's Friday, so boom, we have this opportunity to connect and engage and hopefully give people some phenomenal golden nuggets and tools that they can take away and implement into their lives.
Philip, I'm always pleased to see you. I just can't believe how quickly every week goes by. And you know, here at USA Global TV, we're focused on bringing education and entertainment. People need something to feel good about, something to believe in, and etiquette and manners has always been important. And you have given us so much to think about, because etiquette and manners is not just how to hold a teacup. It is not just how to sit at a table and how to have your tableware situated. It is all about how you show up as a person for yourself and for others. So if you would share about your work there at the British School of Excellence, and how can people get involved and learn more?
Wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to our avid listeners and any new listeners that are out there. Here at the British School of Excellence, we build confidence and we change lives. How do we do that? We do that through the power of etiquette, manners, emotional intelligence, giving you those fundamental tools that will literally change your life if you implement them. Everything we do is giving you the guidance and tools and golden nuggets to really understand that etiquette, manners, and developing your emotional intelligence is a lifestyle choice. It's a way of life. And more so now than ever before. I and all those amazing people that we surround ourselves with and involve ourselves with throughout our business world and our lives really do go out there and make a difference. And this is really what this is all about. It's not about, as Dr. JACALYN said, oh, just a teacup, how do I hold it, and the knives and forks. Yes, it is, because you are always on display and you're always on show. So how you conduct yourself in life and society is fundamental, but it needs to be very, very sincere, genuine, authentic. And it's about you putting your best foot forward and having a what can I do for you attitude in this world. And I think what we really deliver here at our organization is giving you that ability to really make a difference in your own world and therefore in other people's worlds and lives. So at the school, we focus on children coaching, we focus on teenagers, we focus on adults of all ages. The oldest, most amazing woman that came through one of our train-the-trainer programs was Susie, all the way in Cyprus, 78 years old. So it's never too late to keep learning and growing and go out there to help as many people as you can. If you have any interest in understanding more of what we do here at the British School of Excellence, please do visit our website, www.thebritishschoolofexcellence.com.
Thank you so much, Philip. And I get such wonderful feedback about this program, not only the content that you deliver, which is exceptional, but the guests that you bring to this platform. And you've brought another one who is backstage. Tell us about SONYA.
An amazing guest behind at the backstage here. SONYA MOLEDINA walked through our doors at the British School of Etiquette, in those days now Excellence, almost just over 4 years ago. Someone who came to the program with a very open mind, but very calm and collected and very subtle in her approach. And, wonderful corporate background, beautiful family. And Sonya has always had this burning desire to go out there and help people and give them these amazing tools and help them build their confidence. And off the back of coming through the Train the Trainer program, Sonya took some time just to sort of assess and look at how she wanted to position herself. And then she launched an amazing business. And I'm not going to spoil her thunder, but it's Etiquette and Emotions. I love that, Etiquette and Emotions, and how they tie in, because this is exactly what we advocate as etiquette coaches and trainers and consultants. It's the head and the heart are connected. So Sonya runs amazing programs giving youngsters, teenagers incredible tools and confidence to interview with great ability. And some of the students that have come through Sonya's programs have entered in some of the most prestigious schools in this country. That's just scratching at the tip of the iceberg in Sonya's ability and capability. So without further ado, I'd love to welcome Sonya to the show.
Yes, let's welcome Sonya.
Good afternoon. Well, afternoon for me, perhaps morning for you. Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be here.
So lovely to see you, Sonya. And those colors are just, as Dr. Jacqueline and I were saying backstage, just boom, radiating. So thank you so much for looking wonderful as you always do and for making the time to join us.
It's an absolute pleasure. Philip, as you said, I have really benefited from the British School of Excellence, all the training that I've undertaken with yourself on etiquette and emotional intelligence, which has led me to where I am today. So thank you.
Well, you're incredibly brave because you jumped out of an aeroplane and you built your parachute on the way down. That's for sure. That I know, because I know it hasn't been a straight road. As I said, Dr. Jacqueline, Sonya really has got the most incredible strength and skill set to connect with people of all ages. But her real passion, I think, is really working with children and from an early age to really help them understand how important it is to bolt on etiquette and manners in your EQ so that you can grow up to be an incredible human being all around.
Yeah, my goal really is to elevate young people so that they're thriving at school, in their home life, especially friendships are very important at that age, and just also thinking about their future personal and professional endeavors. We're grooming them for the future. But I do feel with both emotional and social intelligence, it is a lifelong journey. There's a lot of internal work to be done and a lot of self-reflection required. And two of the very strong foundations I try to work on with my students is, number one is self-esteem, and the other thing is empathy. I think this is really key for emotional and social success.
Sonya, a question I have for you, I've shared before, I don't have any children, so I'm always interested to learn, if you are a parent out there, what age should you start instilling these values about self-esteem and social etiquette and grace?
Gosh, that's such an interesting question, Dr. Jacqueline. But I honestly, this might sound a little bit far-fetched, but I really and truly believe it's from birth. When a child cries out, it's a cue that they need something. And I think that parent-child relationship, the connection, the bond, the way you respond to the child's needs, that self-esteem begins from day one, actually. So no pressure on parents, but it comes naturally. I think biologically, parents already do a lot, and they're already fulfilling a lot of that self-esteem and confidence building, and a lot of that grooming just by their innate biological nature.
I love that answer. I actually wasn't expecting that, but that makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely. I think it makes a huge amount of sense. And again, just to elaborate what Sonya was saying, is that when we have the privilege of having children, if that's your choice, it's up to us. We're the shepherds. We need to guide and steer. And there's that old adage in life, and I know people sort of shun when I say this, it's monkey see, monkey do. And Dr. Jacqueline and Sonya, the poem by Dorothy Law Nolte, if you teach a child X, you're going to get Y. you're going to get X. If you teach a child Y, you're going to get Y. And this is absolutely, you know, we've got to guide, we've got to set the example, and we've got to be patient. I think this is something that is not innate in a lot of people. Patience. You've got to be really patient. When we're the adult, we've brought this little bundle into the world. It's not that little bundle's choice. You know, we've got to take responsibility. And it starts nurturing from the moment they're born.
Yeah. And I think they say children do, you know, as you do, not as you say. We are their role models. They're emulating our behavior. If we're on our phone all the time, you know, they're going to be on their phone all the time. It's just being aware that what you are doing is also, you know, a mirror on your child's future.
And we've talked a lot on this show about emotional intelligence on previous episodes. What is the intersection between etiquette and emotions? Where do they actually come together and form a strong foundation?
Gosh, right. I can give you a few examples of this. I mean, for me, one thing that's really important that I'm increasingly trying to instill in my students is you have to have a very strong sense of identity, know who you are. If you don't have firm roots, you're going to sway all over the place. And I think this is particularly important in childhood when you're trying to find your place in the world and try and find your identity. But every reaction, every decision should be in line with your values. So once you know, right, who am I? Then you won't just be nodding along to conversations you don't agree with. Don't just be a people pleaser. So I think it starts with you, that be authentic. You know, don't just become a different person every time you interact with someone different. So I actually say to children that organizations have a mission statement. They have values. Go and look at organizations' websites. You also should have a manifesto. You should also have a purpose. And that way, for example, when you're in certain situations at school, you can make more emotionally intelligent decisions. So if you see that there's a bit of teasing going on, gossiping, bullying, whatever undesirable behavior, you can think, is that really what I want to be known for? Is that really what I want to be remembered for? Am I acting in line with my values? So I think it's really important to, whether you're a child or an adult, to have a sense of what your purpose is, what your mission is. And that also gives you confidence to be true to yourself.
I love that comment about being authentic and being who you are every time, showing up that way. I've mentioned before that when I was in the corporate world, I would work with people, interact with people, and they were one way in front of the client, and then they were another way when they weren't with the client. I thought, whoa, who are you actually? You know, you start to question. So you want to show up and be who you are all the time.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is people pleasing. Subconsciously, perhaps we look for approval. We want other people to like us. And I explain to children that can everyone in the class like you? Is it realistic to connect with everybody? You know, you can't expect everyone to like you. Trust your own opinions, trust your own decisions, and be your authentic self. You know, don't constantly look for approval from other people. And I think that really is a bit of a revelation for them, because they're so keen to be popular and liked by other people.
Yeah, I love what you and you're right, Dr. JACALYN, you've mentioned this before about, you know, who are you? And Sonia, what I love what you shared there as well is the fact that, you know, it's that old adage that you often hear me say, you know, when we work and focus with youngsters right from the, you know, 5, 6 years old and into adults, we say, first, what I want you to write down is note to self. And that is, I am my brand. And the second thing is, I want you to write down, I would like to be the person that I would like to meet. And it's just so true what you shared about, you know, look at companies' mottos, values, their sort of vision and focuses. And what are they about? What are their brand values? What do they stand for? Why do you identify with certain brands as an adult or as a kid? Now think about you in those particular scenarios and put yourself in those sort of shoes and check in on yourself. You know, really, you know, again, and I know Sonia uses this immensely in her coaching and training is, and we've heard people who've had the opportunity to connect with us before, is incorporating that moment of stillness, that moment, that 6-second rule, pause, speak, listen, pause, just to pause, observe. And I know, Dr. JACALYN, is something you focus heavily on in your the power of listening, coaching and training.
Yes, yes. And I love, Philip, what you just said about I am my brand. And someone said to me at some point, it's none of our business what someone else thinks about us. Sonia, what are your thoughts about that statement?
Absolutely. You have to be authentic. You have to be true to yourself. You have to trust your own judgments. And if you feel that you're doing the right thing, it doesn't matter what others think about you. And another thing, I think there's a theory that we are a combination of the 6 people the closest people that we spend time with. So I also say to my students that, in terms of seeking that approval or other people, just spend time with people that are going to add value to your life, people that are going to enhance you, elevate you. And an example I give them is, if you have a fruit bowl and you put some good fruit next to the rotten fruit, what happens to that fruit? The good fruit becomes rotten as well. So just make sure that you're surrounding people that are inspirational and dynamic, and people that are going to uplift you.
That was a great analogy about the fruit bowl. I love that. I can see the rotting fruit and the good fruit, and then all those bugs that come out of nowhere. All of a sudden, it just makes the situation even worse. So I think it's also important, if you are in a situation where it's a toxic environment and people are not supporting what it is that you do, you just extricate yourself with grace and manners. And it's okay to say that this relationship, this situation isn't working for us. We can do it with dignity and respect, correct?
Absolutely. And I also came across a concept recently that's really helped me in my life, and I can see that it's helping my students as well. And it might sound very abstract, but it's called the frame of reference. And essentially, it's a very simple concept, but I find it quite a revelation that sometimes we connect with certain people. I'm sure you can all think of someone that you get along with really well, and you're just on the same page, you just get each other. And there's other people, I can think of people where you just can't fathom how they think, why they behave and act the way they do, and you just can't seem to connect with them. And I think we can develop far more tolerance, acceptance, and even peace about this if we just think about the fact that everyone's frame of reference is unique. And so depending on your values, depending on perhaps on your upbringing, the atmosphere in your home, your childhood experiences and your personality, even our gender or our sexual orientation, there's so many factors involved in what makes up your frame of reference, your religious or cultural background. So this is how we perceive the world. And everyone looks at the world through a different lens. So the next time you're frustrated with somebody or you're just exasperated by the way that they're behaving, I just tell myself, well, their frame of reference is different to my frame of reference. And I find this immensely helpful. I know my students have tried to, when we talk about getting along with different people, just bear in mind, they're looking at the world through a different lens to what you are.
That's a great point. I wrote it down, actually.
Love that, Sonia. What a great golden nugget that is. And it because it allows us to put things into perspective. We get so frustrated so easily, and we almost become police. We're policing moments, and it just doesn't do us any favors. And it goes back. I had a quick catch up with a colleague of mine this morning, and it was interesting because she was hung up about a particular person that was, somehow upsetting her in her life. And I said to her, forget that person. If that person doesn't bring value, or that person doesn't, think along the same wavelength as you, then just distance yourself. You don't have to be rude. You don't have to be, sarcastic in communicating in a roundabout way to that individual. Just remove yourself, because you're consuming yourself with so much time and energy that it's actually wasting time. You're going to burn up. You're going to burn up an opportunity because you're so focused. You're going to miss out on something else because, and it is, I love that, you know, everyone else has a different lens and a different perspective. And it is, you know, again, what are people sort of hiding when they are very in your face and brash? What are people hiding when they, you know, are not interested in communicating or connecting with you? One doesn't know. And it is surrounding yourself with amazing people, always being open-minded and offering help where you can, but just understand that we are all different. And you're so right, Sonia, when you do connect with people, like-minded people, it's like just magic behind the scenes starts to happen. And I look at that as what one would call growth friendships. Those are people that you really want to be around, you want to develop, you want to work, you want to help, you want to support. And I think this is really important. I love your analogy. Love that.
I think another element that's very important, and especially when I look at what's going on around the world at the moment, internationally, I look at the picture, you know, I think the world would be a very different place if we humanize other people. So, you know, for example, often we look at people as their job role. That's the cleaner, that's the finance director, you know, here's a shop assistant, a security guard. And in children's world, you know, it's their teachers, or even mum and dad. It's just a role. It's like a job description. Or we might be judging people by the outfit that they're wearing or the accent they may have, or very superficial factors. So I always sort of explain to the children that I work with that people are a lot deeper than that. They're not their job title. They're not the outfit that they're wearing. They're human beings. You know, they have needs, they have wishes, they have desires, they have insecurities that you don't see, and they have problems that perhaps we're not aware of. So often with my students, I'll go through pictures with them and I'll say, oh, maybe this lady at the cashier at the supermarket, maybe she's got an ill mother and she's wearing a smile for you and serving you, but actually behind the scenes, she's very worried about her mother's cancer diagnosis. Or there's a security guard there and he's doing his job, but he's going through a divorce perhaps, and he's worried about his finances, he's worried about his children and all these logistics in his life. So it doesn't matter who the person is. Make eye contact with them, smile, greet people nicely, ask them, how's your day going? You know, have a little bit of banter with people. I mean, I know when my children did an etiquette course, instantly, the first time we went to the supermarket and they had that little, you know, light-hearted jokes with people, talk to people, staff at the supermarket, people came up to them and said, you've got such wonderful manners. Or they said to me, oh, your children have got such lovely manners. And it was just this simple concept of humanizing people, which I think is so, so important, no matter what level or position people are in. You know, forget about hierarchies. It's all about the human level.
I have so much respect for the work that you're doing. It's just, it's priceless. It really is.
Yeah, it is priceless. And I love, again, going back to what you're sharing, every single one of us, if we just make a little effort with one another, we could just see so much more dynamic development between human beings. And it's interesting. You know, I love going for a run in the morning or whenever I get a gap in the day, and I make it my business to greet people as I'm running. And I most probably only, if I greet 10 people, I might get 1 or 2 people smiling and greeting me back. The rest look at me as if I've literally just fallen out of I don't know, or from the sky. And it's so strange. And it really does, it hurts my heart, because it just would make such a difference if they understood that my greeting was genuine and I'm, hey, how are you? Good morning, whatever it might be, a smile. And people have become very insular. People have become quite sort of concerned and just mind my own business. And this is something that I think we need as human beings to almost make it our business on a daily basis, to connect and engage, make it almost challenge ourselves to go and connect with people. You know, some, I know, and maybe it's not sort of ring fencing or, you know, pigeonholing the United Kingdom, because in other parts of the, you know, or where I live, but people in certain parts of the country are more friendly than others. Now, I don't know what the reason behind that is, but you go to other countries and these small little villages, everyone's greeting each other. You know, I've been fortunate enough to live in Austria or Switzerland or France, and you walk down the street and you would literally greet someone, bonjour, grüß Gott, wie geht's? And it was, you walk into a store and you would hear someone, grüß Gott, and the lady behind the counter or the man behind the counter would greet you. Auf Wiedersehen, tschüss, and it's just amazing little bit of energy amongst human beings, and that makes such a difference.
It does. You know, Philip, I love what you shared. I'm not running anymore. I'm walking, but there's this path, and I've said this before. I've been walking this path for 40 years. I say hello to every person who walks by. And sometimes people just look at me with a blank face and they say nothing. And I think to myself, maybe they're going through something and they've zoned out, or maybe they think I want something. I don't know. But I still keep saying hello regardless, because I feel like it's the right thing to do. And I think what I take away from what you said and what I said was that good manners are always welcome. So say hello, we do our part, but we don't know what is going on with the other person. We're just doing what we need to do for us.
And it elevates us, you know. And when you greet someone proper, genuine, and you ask someone, how are you? And you're genuinely interested. It's not how are you because it's just off the cuff. How are you? How are you today? I'm really well, thank you. Or, yeah, I'm having an okay sort of day. Why is it only okay? You know, inquire as to why they might only be having an okay sort of day. It really makes a big difference when we just give that little bit of interest in someone else's life. It can shift a moment. It can, you know, and it goes back to, and I know Sonya absolutely, and you, Dr. JACALYN, advocate this, is we are all there to sort of help people understand that one person, one opportunity can change your life for the rest of your life. But not only that, you can be that one person that changes someone's life just because you showed up in that moment, just because you behaved in a certain way toward that person. You made them feel comfortable, you paid them a compliment, you were just genuinely interested and kind. And that could just
There was a story in the news a good few months ago now, and which I really love to share with my students. So a gentleman went for an interview and he went all suited and booted for a corporate role. And the hiring manager, she posed as a receptionist. Excuse me. And it was a very inclusive organization where everyone throughout the hierarchy of the organization was shown great respect and honor. And so this gentleman came, and the posing receptionist tried to build rapport with him, and he just wasn't interested, wouldn't make eye contact, wasn't interested in her. And he unfortunately did not get the job. And he was given feedback that actually he wasn't very respectful to the receptionist, who actually was the hiring manager, and he wouldn't fit into the culture of that organization. So I think the students are quite shocked when I share this example with them, because essentially this whole concept of humanizing people, giving people respect, connecting with people, we're doing it just from the heart to be a good human being, to spread joy in the world. But actually, you know, the way you relate to people, these social connections or not, it's also going to impact, you know, the children that I teach. I'm sure it's going to impact their future and their prospects if they view it that way.
What a great example that you just shared. Treat everyone with respect. It's not about a title. It's about being a human being and respecting one another.
Completely. You just, you know, again, you just never know who you're making contact with, and treat everyone on the same level. I love that fact. I mean, we can get deeper into this, obviously, but we just, you know, we'd run away with time, unfortunately. But at the end of the day, this is exactly what the likes of you, Dr. JACALYN, Sonya, we guide and steer people on this journey to give them these tools to make these amazing sort of decisions and to incorporate this wonderful, warm, kind behavior. You know, you mentioned that wonderful word empathy earlier before we kicked off, or as we kicked off this afternoon, Dr. Sonya. And that is something that I think if anything in this world we can do, and it's the only thing we're able to sort of instill in our beautiful children, is empathy. I think empathy, I mean, along with all the other facets to take care of oneself, but empathy is something which I think is possibly one of the most beautiful traits that one can, you know, gift and give someone.
Yeah, I often say that if you think about a celebrity that you really admire, that you'd absolutely love to meet, or a sports personality, you know, how would you treat that person? You would give them your full focus and attention. And if we just imagine that everyone who we interact with is a VIP, lay out that invisible red carpet for them, you would automatically put your phone away. You would automatically make eye contact. May I get you anything? Ask them questions, compliment them, really listen to them. So, I say to my children, lay out that invisible red carpet. People won't see it, but they will feel something. They'll feel the difference in the way that you're interacting with them.
Another gem I'm going to write down. Sonia, I'd love to hear from you. What is the feedback that you get from the parents of your students, your children?
Well, I think you raised an interesting point, Dr. JACALYN, at the beginning, that, etiquette is not just about holding your fork and knife correctly and how to hold a teacup. And people do sometimes think that etiquette is a little bit outdated, a little bit old-fashioned, perhaps a little bit elitist. And to me, I view etiquette as treating people with kindness, respect, empathy, all these things that we've talked about. So the parents are a little bit flabbergasted, I think, once we get into the detail of it, about what etiquette actually is all about.
A follow-up question I have for you, and then Philip, I'd like for you to weigh in as well. What tips do you give the children when they are encountering someone who has not learned manners or is not showing up in a mannerly way? What guidance do you give them about how they should react or not react to the other person?
Well, the first thing I say to my students is, as part of your code of conduct, never embarrass somebody, never say something publicly. So, for example, if their best friend was showing off about living in a mansion or their parents having, a brand new sports car, you might want to speak to them quietly and say that, look, maybe perhaps not everyone needs to know about that, or I care about you and I don't want you to, be perceived the wrong way. Have a quiet or private chat with them if you feel that's the right thing to do. Never publicly say, well, you're not eating correctly, you're not holding your fork and knife correctly, you didn't say the right thing. So I think that's really important.
Thank you so much. Philip?
Yeah, again, just to echo that and to piggyback off what Sonia was sharing there, it is understanding that belittling someone or putting someone down is actually a really nasty thing to do. It makes, and it actually sits with you pretty much for the rest of your life. I know that because I've seen it, throughout my life, and I've been exposed to that sort of behavior. Fortunately, not by my parents, but it might even be a master, it might even be a fellow schoolboy or a schoolgirl who really just says something that really sort of strikes a raw nerve with you, and you never forget that. And so it'll absolutely stymie you going forward with confidence and giving you that ability to put your best foot forward. And this is something that I think we as human beings, we need to look for the good in someone. And as Sonia said, if you feel it appropriate, have a quiet word in their ear behind the scenes to help them understand why that could trip them up, or why it could put them in a difficult situation. And I think that's really, really powerful. Again, I think not everyone has the privilege of some amazing human beings in this world. So it is helping. It's our duty to help and guide them as young an age, from whatever that young age might be, but just to hold their hand per se. And I love to go back to, that analogy, and I love it, the invisible red carpet. Treat someone in such a beautiful way that you help them rather than put them or throw them under the bus and belittle them and make them feel inadequate or awkward.
Absolutely.
All good points. Someone said to me at one point in my life that it was too much work to have manners and etiquette. Do you think it's work, or do you think once you have the basic foundation that it's something that just you take inside and just becomes part of you? Sonia?
Gosh, I think it's not. I don't sort of strive to, 1 minute you're shouting at your family members or being something else behind closed doors, and then you step out of your front door and you put on an act and be something different. I don't think that's what etiquette is about. I think You have to make it an innate part of your character. And I think, we're social creatures, we live in society, and we have to, it's self-respect and it's respect for people around us. So it does require constant work. I said at the beginning, it's a journey. You have to always self-reflect. There's always room for improvement. I'm always trying to work on myself. I can never say that I've mastered it, not at all. Every day is a journey, and there's something to learn. So, but that's part of, when I talked about having good values and a manifesto and your purpose in life, that's one of my purposes in life. I'm sure that's for many people part of the reason why they're here on this earth. So if that's our mission, that's what we need to work at.
Good point. Thank you. Philip, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I would, because I think, it's I suppose, when you're taught something, and everything's about repetition. And I think when you sort of, it's like becoming good at something. You've got to keep practicing. You've got to keep pushing the boundaries. You've got to keep encouraging yourself, surrounding yourself with people who encourage you to put your best foot forward. And when you do that, does it require extra hard work? Not at all. I think, as Sonia said, you've got to keep topping things up. You've got to keep maintaining. But the general lay of the land, I truly believe, becomes very sort of a part of your DNA and your makeup. You just literally can walk into a situation, into a room, wherever you go. There's those principles that you've absolutely established, because it's part of you now. And then there's always to look inward and say, what could I have done slightly better? How can I improve? Did I handle that situation in the right way? Because again, we're going to be affected by what goes on around us. So this is taking a dive into our mental state. If we go into a networking event off the back of an argument with someone, are you going to be the same person? You will be the same person, but are you going to be able to put your best foot forward as you would normally do if you walked in there with a very clear sort of positive mindset and those sort of things? So I think this is your self-awareness kicking in. This is where, for me, this is why EQ, the head and the heart, are so entwined. Your self-awareness, your emotion management. When we can learn not to master these, or to at least understand what we're feeling, why am I feeling this way, and how can I help myself to put my best foot forward, it becomes, it is work, because we're not going to be, we're not puppets. We can't just perform the same, performance every single time, 100%. We're going to need, fine tuning. We're going to need to check in with ourselves on a regular sort of basis in order to be able to put our best foot forward. And yes, it is work. And it's positive work. It's work that'll help you stand out for the right reasons rather than the wrong reasons. You will always be memorable in a positive way rather than in a negative way.
It's work that's worthwhile.
Completely. 100%.
For the last segment of our show, something I'd like to touch on, because I feel it's very relevant right now. When we talk about self-awareness and having etiquette and manners, obviously with what's going on in the world, people have a lot of opinions that could be conflicting. So how do we respect other people's opinions and also our own integrity about how we feel, and still be able to be in relationships with people who don't feel the same way that we feel? Who wants to take that one?
I don't mind sort of starting, and I'm sure Philip's my teacher. Philip will, I'm sure, add more to what I've got to say. But I think firstly, one of the lessons I know I learned from Philip was being very careful and selective about who you're interacting with and what topics of conversation you choose. Keep things lighthearted, keep things pleasant. It's a very typical British thing to talk about the weather, for example, but talk about hobbies, interests, talk about people's passions. So I'm very cautious to talk about politics or finances or anything that's a little bit more of a controversial nature. So that's my first taking from this, that, be very selective about and be aware of who's around you and what you're talking about, and if it's the right topic for the right audience. But also, I think if you are delving into a conversation with someone, again, Philip taught me this, that saying the word may I, for example, it sounds a lot, use soft language, use polite language. It sounds a lot nicer than saying can I. So if I was to disagree with someone, I might say, oh, may I interject, or may I give my opinion? I had a little bit of a different perspective on that. And I think you can politely, respectfully give your opinion, even if it differs from another person.
Good point. Thank you. Philip,
Great
the
point.
teacher.
Yeah. Well, what I would add to that again, and Dr. Jacqueline, this goes back to, you know, one of the courses, one of the many wonderful courses and areas that you specialize in, and that's the power of listening to the other person, connecting with the other person with your body language, not to sort of, even though you may not agree with that person, for you to sort of react in an indifferent way, because immediately you're going to get an action, you're going to get a reaction. So it's checking in with that person, using those polished language skills. May I share my opinion on this particular subject, or may I suggest we shift subjects because I'm not really comfortable going into this particular area. So it's pausing for thought, it's taking your time, not just reacting, you know, going into that sparring boxing ring where you feel you've got to keep protecting yourself with that, you know, your fists are pumping very, very fast. You know, it's like, you know, you see the boxer practicing with that little ball and they just punching that thing, because if they don't, they're going to lose the rhythm. And I think this is where we as human beings, again, you know, check in with one another. Is it appropriate to discuss this? If it's not, then let's find something that's far more enjoyable to discuss. I know there's a lot of horror going on in this world, and we can dwell on negativity if we so wish. But is that going to add any value? I don't believe it is. We can all take action to go and do some good to help other people. Rather do that than trying to sort of dwell on this. Everyone's got different opinions. Everyone's got a different, you know, that whole thing, going back to your amazing analogy. Everyone's seeing things through different lenses. Hopefully there are a lot of people that are seeing things through the same lens for the right obvious reasons with what's going on. But at the same time, you are going to get people who will absolutely push back, come up with their own sort of ideas. And I think that's where we as human beings, good human beings, just pause, take on board what's going on, step back, observe, literally like a bird looking at a bird's eye view down on the situation before sort of reacting or interjecting. You know, use your polished language skills, use your what I call the glue in conversation. That's the power of small talk, genuine small talk with interest.
I wholeheartedly agree with what you're both saying. I like to add one other thing, which is when you have learned manners and you have learned to listen, which they really go together, you can take that pause, take a step back. Philip, I heard what you just said. Thank you for sharing that with me. I appreciate you have a different perspective than I have, and I'd like to decline having a conversation about this and talk about something else. How about XYZ?
Absolutely.
But you've also acknowledged the person, because sometimes people, they just want to keep going and going and going because nobody wants to listen to what they have to say. So if you say, hey, guess what? I hear what you're saying. And you don't comment on it. You don't make a judgment about it. And then you politely take the conversation to a different direction. Now, they might not want to go that direction, but that doesn't mean that you still have to engage. You just have to be strong and steadfast in your own awareness of the situation.
Completely. And that is it, that own awareness. There goes back to your emotional intelligence, self-awareness, all of that it's that situational awareness. Be very situationally aware of what's going on. Be so in tune with your surroundings and with the people that you're connecting with and engaging with. And some people just want to bring that fight. They just want to ruffle people's feathers. They want to drop a bombshell into the conversation, see people's reactions. Unfortunately, you get those, and we've all been around those sort of people. And it's up to us not to react, because that's what they're looking for. But I love what you said, Dr. Jacqueline, acknowledging what they've said. I hear what you're saying. It's actually not a topic I'm comfortable engaging with right now. How about, have you watched the latest X, Y, and Z Six Nations results? Are you a rugby fan? Or whatever it is, find something completely different. And if necessary, if you really know that individual reasonably well, harp on a topic that you know they're passionate about, a sport or whatever it might be. Jump into something that you know is going to hook them.
I think we
Excellent.
also all have certain trigger points. We have certain, things that people might say, or they might behave in a certain way, which are our trigger points, and we notice our mood changing, and it's all about keeping that composure, being aware of our own mood switches and irritations. And I think that's why I think you can't separate emotional intelligence from etiquette, because emotional intelligence is the ability to say, this person's getting under my skin, or this is bothering me. I can feel that internal shift, and I'm just going to, keep my composure, keep calm, and react in an appropriate way. And that's your external manifestation of, in terms of your etiquette, of how you're feeling on the inside. So the two things are so beautifully connected.
I love how this is all coming together for our audience. And if you are just joining us, please go over to our YouTube channel and watch the show in its entirety, USA Global TV. Okay, as we close out the show, Sonya, I'm going to spotlight you again and welcome you to come back with us and share more. Who would you like to reach out to you? And for people who are listening on the radio and they can't read the banner, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Okay, so my website is my organization's name, www.etiquetteandemotions.com, or you can email me at info@etiquetteandemotions.com. And the different workshops that I offer, such as confidence, conversations, and charisma, or emotional intelligence, it's all for young people, children and teenagers primarily, who I'm working with, or supporting young people with their school interviews to get into the independent schools, even helping children with medicine and dentistry. I've been sitting on the interview panels recently for some top London-based universities. So there's all sorts of things that I do, but just head over to etiquetteandemotions.com. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the very important work that you're doing.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. It's been such an enlightening conversation. Thank you.
It has been. I've written down all these pointers that you shared, and I'll be sharing it with our elevated listening community over the weekend. So thank you again.
It's a pleasure. Have a wonderful weekend.
Sonya,
You too.
as always, thank you so much. Have a blessed weekend, and all my fond regards to your family. Thank you.
Take care.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Another brilliant show, Philip.
Incredible. I mean, she's just amazing at what she does, and she sticks to her guns, because she's had some curveballs thrown at her, especially when she launched her business. People were turning around to her and saying, why are you trying to mold our children? Why are you trying to do this? And she actually landed up on BBC TV in a debate, defending her core values and her guidance and steering in giving people, tools and confidence. It's not about trying to change anybody. This is instilling incredible values in people for us to learn to be better human beings. We're not born with a sat nav in our hand. We need that guidance and steering. It's like you and I, Dr. JACALYN. It's like a lot of people who listen into your incredible platform. I mean, gee, I tell you, I was riveted the other day when John Christian and Roland were on. I mean, I was just there taking notes and just listening to what they had to share, and the value add that you bring. If anyone really wanted to get ahead in life, they wouldn't need to go to university. They'd just dial into USA Global TV, and you'd create. I mean, the material's phenomenal, but it really goes back to, we all need topping up. We all need a coach. We all need a mentor. We all need guidance and steering. We 100% do. And, I suppose, look at the athletics world. Every top athlete, or you don't have to be a top athlete. We all have someone who pushes us, who guides us, who coaches us. And this is through life. And I think this is where we as human beings need to understand. Life is challenging. We are thrown curveballs on a regular basis. How do we circumvent that? How do we help ourselves? We find people who can help us. Lately I've actually I reached out to one of my, Leo, who came on the program a couple of months ago. He is a phenomenal executive coach, and I found there's certain areas that I've been sort of battling with, you know, and he and I had an amazing 45-minute conversation this week, and he helped me unlock a few things and put things into different perspective, a different angle. So I can't advocate enough that every single one of us has the ability to put our best foot forward. We don't know it all, so we go and find people who can guide us and steer us.
Excellent, Philip. Thank you so much. If you would share your contact information and who should reach out to you, that would be terrific.
Certainly. Ladies and gentlemen, www.thebritishschoolofexcellence.com. If you would like to email us, have a general chit chat, hello@thebritishschoolofexcellence.com. Please do make contact at any point in time, and we would love to engage with you and hear from you. All our courses and programs are featured on our website, and we've got a great YouTube channel which has got wonderful content on there that you can learn from, take some guidance and steering from. So please, when you have a moment, do look us up, and feel free to connect at any point in time.
Thank you so much, Philip. I really appreciate you, and I just love working with you.
Likewise, Dr. Jack. Absolutely. And I'm wishing you an amazing weekend, and I'm looking out for those oncoming shows and over the rest of today and the rest of the week. So thank you for all you're doing, and we'll chat most probably over the weekend.
For sure. Thank you. Thank you,
right.
Philip. Take
Thank
care.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Philip. Thank you, Sonia. It's been a wonderful show, and we've got other shows coming up today. We have Adversity to Awesome that would normally be at noon Eastern time, but it's going to be right after this show. A couple of plugs that I have for our audience as well. In addition to running this platform at USA Global TV, I also run drjacalyn.com. I'm a certified life and career coach. I am the listening mentor, and I teach people how to listen. I would love for you to join our elevated listening community. You can do so by going to the link you see at the top of the screen, which is drjacalyn.com/join, and you'll find out all of the value and benefits you get by doing so once you go there. And lastly, we have our reunion show, which is coming up. And for those of you who have been with us since the beginning, we started our platform January the 10th with our launch party, and now we have a reunion show. This is open to anyone and everyone who would like to market their product, service, or event. So this is not an interview. This is you promoting you. Boy, isn't that something? You can promote whatever it is so that our audience can get to know you and do business with you. If you're interested in that, you can go to our banner here, which is Eventbrite, and I will put it into the comments. Okay, you stay where you are to watch Adversity to Awesome. I'm going to run over to the other studio, and I'll be back shortly. Thank you again to all of you for being here with us on this journey. It means so much. Bye for now.